Hello everyone and welcome to UPSCprep.com. My name is Nimish Kapoor. Today we are starting off with a series of international relations events, weekly events we'll be covering in detail. This will be a weekly review of international relations and we are starting from 17 July onwards. Every week, UPSC Prep will be bringing you this and you can watch it on Learn with UPSC Prep YouTube channel. It's a free initiative. You can join our channel for the PDF as well. So we'll be discussing the important international relation events, discussing about them in detail, the dynamics of it. Also, we will be looking at some of the important location in news. So this series particularly would be very helpful to those who are looking to cover international relations from both prelims and mains perspective. So let's start with the series, and the first in this series we are going to start today. So the first news which I'm going to cover is that United States of America has withdrawn from UNESCO. Now this is not from the immediate effect. It takes time to withdraw, but has signed to withdraw from UNESCO. Now what is UNESCO? UNESCO is the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. And this departure of US will take effect on December 31, 2026. Now, mind you, this is the second time US is exiting under Donald Trump. In his first tenure, United States President Donald Trump gave the same order with which United States withdrew from UNESCO. And now, in his second tenure, same decision. Joe Biden had joined UNESCO again, had initiated the joining again, but now again US is exiting UNESCO. Overall, this is the third time United States will be exiting the UNESCO. Now we look into what is UNESCO and what would be the implications of this decision. Well, the latest withdrawal comes only 2 years after Biden administration had rejoined the organization to address concerns of a growing influence from US competitors like China. Well, let's know about UNESCO. Now, UNESCO, as I told you earlier, the full form is United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. It's one of the specialized agencies of United Nations. It was founded around the same time when UN was founded, 1945, but it came into force, the constitution of UNESCO entered into force in 1946. Its headquarters are in Paris, France. Overall, 194 member states are there and 8 to 12 associate members are there. The mission of UNESCO is to promote peace, security and sustainable development through international cooperation in education, science, culture and communication. Well, education, so main areas, again, same education, natural sciences, social, human sciences, culture, communication, information. Now, most important, what are the key activities which UNESCO participates in? It promotes quality education and lifelong learning, encourage scientific collaboration and sustainable policies, protect and safeguard cultural heritage and diversity. Now, this is what you relate with most. Protect and safeguard cultural heritage and diversity. On the other hand, establish and maintain World Heritage Sites, support freedom of expression and independent media. Well, it is governed by a general conference which include all member states. It has an executive board and also a secretariat which is led by a director general. The major projects are World Heritage Sites. UNESCO World Heritage Sites, as you know, is a very important project of UNESCO. This gives the global recognition to some of the sites. In India, we have multiple sites, over 40. Global literacy campaigns, teacher training, press freedom advocacy are some of the other notable projects. Current Director General is Audrey Azoulay as of 2024. Well, this information will be helpful for you from prelims perspective as well. Now, what would be the implication of US exiting UNESCO? Number one, financial implication, as United States has been one of the major contributor to UNESCO. So this could pose budgetary challenges for UNESCO, but over a period of time, the number of contributors has expanded. Second, it is a symbolic and political move. It would be a blow to multilateral cooperation, and US influence in international standards are likely to be diminished, particularly in the fields of AI, education, and preservation of World Heritage. And also, there are 26 US UNESCO World Heritage sites. For example, Grand Canyon, Statue of Liberty, which the status of these may not be immediately threatened, but international funding, upkeep of it, the funding which they get, recognition for preservation initiative could be affected in long term. Now, second news which we'll go into is India EFTA TEPA. Now, it's been in news this week because India has submitted TEPA. Now, what is TEPA? TEPA. So, firstly, remember EFTA is European Free Trade Association, constituting 4 countries. Which are these 4 countries? Switzerland, Iceland, Norway, Liechtenstein. These are 4 countries. Switzerland, Liechtenstein, are very close to bordering each other. Liechtenstein is a very small country. These 4 countries constitute European Free Trade Association, and India has done a pact with with these 4 countries together. And this pact is known as TEPA, Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement. Now, this is a free trade agreement which India has done with the EFTA countries. Well, this pact was signed last year. Now, you might be asking why it is in news. 16-year negotiation took place. 16 years between India and EFTA. Finally, an agreement was signed, and on March 10, 2024. But it will come into force. Pact will begin from October 1 of 2025, where 100 billion investment has been pledged. That is why it was in news. Now let's go into more finer details of India EFTA TEPA. Firstly, this is Iceland. This is Northern Arctic, another Atlantic Ocean. Okay. This is UK, but it's not a part. So Iceland, Norway, and this is Switzerland along with Liechtenstein, which is bordering here itself. Okay. So these are the 4 countries which are part of European Free Trade Association EFTA. Now, what are the key provisions of India EFTA TEPA? Firstly, an investment commitment, which we just talked about, at least $100 billion of FDI in India has been committed by the EFTA countries over 15 years, which will help in creation of 1 million new jobs. Market access. EFTA offers tariff elimination, so India will get market access to nearly 92.2% of products, covering 99.6% of Indian exports. India offers 82.7% of its tariff lines, covering 95.3% of EFTA exports. 100% of non-agricultural products and processed agriculture products included for India's exports. So why? Because India only puts primarily restrictions on agriculture products in trade, but in non-agriculture, 100% access has been provided to India's exports. Sensitive Indian sectors, like I told you, dairy, soya, coal, and select agriculture products are excluded because Indian concerns are there. Because India wants to protect Indian farmers. Market access. So India offers concessions in 105 subsectors. EFTA provides commitments in over 100 subsectors. The rules of origin have been thoroughly discussed. Detailed provision and access governs rule of origin declaration, so that, for example, Chinese should not, bypass their products from the EFTA countries. Okay. Trade facilitation. Measures to simplify customs and trade procedures have been discussed in this. Investment promotion. First ever binding legal commitment that FDI will be done and targets will be achieved. Job targets. This is a very important part of TEPA. Intellectual property rights commitments have been aligned with TRIPS standards, focused on protection and enforcement. No data exclusivity provisions for pharmaceuticals, which was rejected by India, which is very good for India. So Indian concerns have been taken into account. Indian concerns have been taken into account and have reflected in this TEPA. Mutual recognition of professional services is very important. So let's say someone does nursing in India or accountancy or architecture will be recognized in these countries as well. Trade remedies and dispute settlement. Mechanisms for addressing unfair trade practice and dispute resolution have been discussed and identified in this TEPA. So trade and sustainable development is also part of it, and safeguard and review measures have been discussed in detail under this TEPA. These are the primary provisions. You don't have to learn word by word. Primary is the investment commitment, market access and services, rules of origin. This is a primary you can remember, which will be very helpful if any question comes in mains on that. The third important news which I want to discuss is China has started dam construction. The dam construction, the biggest dam in the world's largest hydropower dam on the Brahmaputra River, which is known as Yalang Sangbo in Tibet. Now this is very close to Arunachal border. Well, the project will cost around US $167.8 billion, which is approximately 1.2 trillion yuan. It involves 5 cascade hydropower stations. Now, overall capacity would be 60,000 megawatt, which is roughly 3 times larger than China's, which is biggest dam currently, Three Gorges Dam. Okay, China's 3 Gorges Dams in terms of power generation. While it aims to produce around 300 billion kilowatt hour of electricity annually, energizing 300 million people and contribute to China's renewable energy goals and carbon neutrality by 2060. Now, this is what the dam has started. Now, importantly, we need to look at where this dam is. Now, this is where Medog, very close to Arunachal border. Can you see it? Now, this is why this 60 gigawatt capacity super dam. Problem is when there will be water to be, the dam gates would be opened, how it would affect the downstream region. Flood can be caused. This is a huge concern for India. And this, as you see, the Yalang Zangpo, it starts in Tibet, continues to flow eastwards in Tibet, crosses close to Lhasa, and bends. This is known as the bend close to Arunachal, and it suddenly moves south and then towards west, known as Brahmaputra in India. Now, what are the key pointers if you look with respect to this particular project? Well, the dam is being built on the Great Bend of Yalang Zangpo in Medog County, okay, which we've seen in Tibet Autonomous Region of China, where river plunges about 2,000 meters over 550 kilometers. So you can see the flow of the river would be very high, and once the dam is created, when the gates are open, the water will move down very fast. This deep canyon provides optimal conditions for hydropower generation, strategic and geopolitical concerns. Now, this gives China control over Brahmaputra's water flow downstream to India, and this will be a cause of concern, and raising concerns about potential weaponization of water resources. In future, if there is a conflict, China can use water by controlling the water flow and accordingly weaponizing the use of water flow. India and China have expert level mechanisms since 2006 to share hydrological data during floods. But both the countries are not the signatory of UN Water Courses Convention 1997. The dam's proximity to Arunachal Pradesh, a disputed border area. Specifically, China says that it is a disputed border area, but India has clearly said that it is an integral part of India. And we've seen in past that how the residents of Arunachal have got stapled visas of China in past whenever they wanted to travel. This heightens geopolitical sensitivities, environmental and disaster risks. So construction in a seismically active zone located over, so it is constructed over a very seismically active zone. It is prone to earthquakes. It raises the risks of earthquakes and dam safety issues. Potential disruptions to local biodiversity can happen. Agriculture downstream, because if flooding has happened, and what would happen? The states like Assam, the upper Assam region, heavily dependent on the water flow for its agriculture. And the ecology of Brahmaputra basin will be impacted. Large reservoirs can increase water evaporation and may reduce water availability downstream during drought times. Well, what is India's response? India is also developing hydropower projects in Arunachal on Brahmaputra. India's continuous monitoring and diplomatic engagement with China is happening to address data sharing and flood management. India's concerns have revolved around water security, ecological impact, and strategic control over transboundary waters. Okay, so fourth we'll go into topic is the agricultural outlook of 25 to 34 has been released by OECD and FAO. We'll talk about what is uh, OECD FAO. And they have provided a comprehensive global and Indian perspective plan. What is agriculture? Like what is global outlook for next 10 years in agriculture? And what is Indian outlook? The agricultural trends, growth prospects, and challenges for the coming decade has been discussed. Now, this outlook is very important for UPSC aspirants because it highlights the economic, environmental, and policy dimensions of the next decade from the perspective of OECD and FAO. Now, what are these trends? Firstly, global trends. So, global agricultural trends are there will be growth in production. Agriculture and fish production is expected to grow by 14%, specifically due to rise in productivity in middle income nations. Cereal use by 2034, 40% of cereal production will be consumed by humans, 33% by animal, 27% will be used for biofuel and industrial purposes. Now, this can be very important for you in answering dynamic questions related to environment, agriculture in your GS paper, GS3. Rising demand in Asia. India and Southeast Asia will contribute 39% of the global increase in cereal consumption and indicating shift in demand from China to South and Southeast Asia. Now, biofuel demand is projected to grow 0.9% annually. So, India, Brazil, Indonesia are the countries where biofuel demands will grow. Animal products. So, global per capita calorie intake from livestock and fish products will rise by 6%, with lower income countries like India expected to see a 24% increase. Greenhouse gas emissions. Agricultural emissions are expected to increase. Now, why increase? So, if you know, agriculture is one of the biggest emitters of greenhouse gases, particularly methane, and this is expected to grow. Okay. Now, Indian agriculture outlook, if you see the market size currently and the growth estimated $457.26 billion is the Indian agricultural market currently, and this is projected to reach $737.77 billion by 2034. So, compounded annual growth rate would be 4.9%, which is good. Which is good because this shows that agriculture growth, if it is 4% above, is considered good. Pulses in commodities. India is poised for record growth of pulse production. Nearly 8 million tons increase by 2034, making it likely to remain top global producer of pulses. Even India still imports pulses because it is one of the greatest consumers also of pulses. Overall sectoral growth, if we see, there will be significant investment in warehousing, which India has continuously tried to. The infrastructure development projects in agriculture is highly being pushed in India. And cold chains, 5.2%, and adoption of agri-technology. Focus area in India would be organic farming, digital agriculture, irrigation efficiency, machinery adoption, and improved supply chains, which also would help in decrease in wastage. So regional trends, if you see, most growth will come from West India, 5.4%. West India, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, some part of Rajasthan. But all regions are expected to benefit from technological and market reforms. But still there will be challenges. Now these challenges persist and would likely to persist are post-harvest losses. Still, there is currently inadequate storage, transport infrastructure. Now this causes 92,000 crore loss annually. Fragmented markets are there. There is lack of national integrated market. Climate impacts continuously, water scarcity in some region, erratic weather, heavy rainfalls, land inundation and for floods, land degradation also due to overuse of insecticides, pesticides. Market access. Small and marginal farmers still struggle to access broader markets and fair pricing mechanisms. So these are key challenges currently, but India is heading to overcome these challenges. Now we'll talk about this report has been published by OECD and FAO. OECD is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Well, this is an international organization which was founded in 1961, headquartered in Paris, which promotes economic growth, global trade, social well-being by establishing evidence-based international standards and policies. That is what they do. Now, this works with over 100 countries, mainly high-income nations. Now, they address social, economic, and environmental challenges such as climate change, tax evasion, education, helping countries develop fairer, stronger, and cleaner societies. Whereas Food and Agricultural Organization is a United Nations oldest specialized agency, founded in 1945, and it is based in Rome. OECD, Paris. It aims to defeat hunger, improve nutrition, promote sustainable agriculture worldwide. It has 194 member states. FAO supports countries through research, technical assistance, education, data services sectors like agriculture, forestry, fisheries, resource management. And it also has global food safety. It sets the food safety standards globally and works on climate resilience, rural development, gender equality, and sustainable natural resource management. Now we'll look at some of the locations in news for the week. Well, number one is Lesotho. Lesotho is a country surrounded by South Africa on all sides. Okay, this is South Africa, surrounded by South Africa on all sides. Capital is Maseru. Why it was in news? India and Lesotho have discussed on expanding their bilateral ties when Minister of State for External Affairs Margarita visited Lesotho. So Lesotho, Maseru, as I said, is the capital, surrounded by South Africa on all sides. All sides. Okay, so if we look at this, Drakensberg Mountains are covering three Drakensberg Mountains. And one side the boundary is Saladon River, and Orange River flows through it. Okay, Orange River flows through it. This is the major physical features of This is the major physical features of Lesotho. Now let's move to Bolivia. Now Bolivia has thanked India for timely support because India had recently given measles and rubella vaccine in its health emergency. So Bolivia had measles rubella outbreak, and Indian government donated a measles and rubella vaccine. Bolivian president, as you can see, had extended heartfelt gratitude to the Indian government for donating 3 lakh doses of measles and rubella vaccine. Now, if you look at Bolivia, Bolivia is a country in Central South America. Okay, in Central South America, where Peru is on one side, Chile on the other, and you see on this side there is Argentina and Paraguay. Okay, and then Brazil. Okay, so Bolivia. If you see, this is Bolivia. Okay, now Bolivia, again the physical features: Amazon jungle on one side, and you see the primary part. The capital of is La Paz. Andes Mountains also pass through Bolivia. Andes Mountains, which are the young fold mountains in South America. Okay, just go through this for the physical features, which will be very helpful from a location-based geography perspective. The next we want to go into is Vanuatu or Vanuatu. Vanuatu is a Pacific island nation. Now, it has approached International Court of Justice to classify environmental destruction as ecocide. That it wants ICJ to classify environmental justice as ecocide. So Vanuatu is an archipelago, that is group of islands in South Pacific Ocean. It is situated in northern Australia and west of Fiji. Its maritime borders are surrounded by South Pacific Ocean with extensive exclusive economic zone. So these islands are of volcanic origin, has mountainous terrains, coastal plains, and major islands and notable islands include Espiritu, Santo, Malacula, and Efate. Now, if we look at Vanuatu, this is where it is located, northeast of Australia. Okay, it has extensive exclusive economic zone. Port Vila is the capital. Solomon Islands it's on its north, and New Caledonia on its south. So this is it with respect to this week's international relations review. Every week with UPSCprep.com, you will see the international relations review. It will be very helpful for you to for both prelims and mains perspective. And I hope you continue watching this series, and I'm sure it will be extremely helpful for you to crack this exam. I'll see you next week, and thank you for watching.